Hey, what's up, everybody? It is at Creek Swimming, moonshine sipping, deer skinning, beer drinking, Johnny Cash listening, SOB straight out of Middle Tennessee. That's right. It is the Cowboy James Storm, and I want to say be sure to check out the podcast Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. Relive all your favorite TNA pay-per-view moments as they cover them once a month. I'm telling you, you got to check this out. And if you don't, you know I'm going to say it. Sorry about your damn luck.
Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present.
How old were you?
I was -3.
JR is trying to contain Jim Ross.
McFlurry,
It's Mick Foley. Do you see any of the aggro crag? Was any of that left over?
No, unfortunately not.
No?
We're taking some of that home.
Definitely not as the barn burner that Leaf Cassidy and Ty Raleigh thing was, but we'll leave that there.
We digress.
God, I hope that storyline ends soon.
And 6 to 8 weeks later, they mail you a freaking magnet.
Yep. You may know him as the Red Rooster.
Is it still real to me? Damn it!
Hager kept making out with his wife. It was weird. So then, I'm waiting for them to put the Selena Vega on a pole match.
And I mean, Big E's got Whale performing in his entrance, so I feel like
Wale.
It's Wale.
Wale.
I don't listen to. Okay, well, I don't listen to him, so I apologize to Wale.
This is in the mail, my good sir. No, it wasn't. Oh.
I feel like Vince is just gonna have them team together and be like, have them call Woo Bro. Like they're just gonna be the Woo Bros. Like, anyway.
Giving us a reason to come here and listen to ourselves talk.
Absolutely,
And then you can listen to us too. We're off to a rough start.
Strap on and balls only on Wrestling Past and Present.
This is Gangrel, the Vampire Warrior, and you're listening to Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present.
This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Pulis. Oh, that's right. Mongo's not here.
Mongo's not here. So
Mongo is at sea.
yes, Mongo decided to go on the Jericho cruise and did not take his two best friends with him. So we're not bitter at all about that.
To be fair, he does have two people with him, but apparently they're not us.
They're not
we're
us.
here.
We're here in my kitchen again.
Well, that's another story for another time.
Yeah.
Audio issues part 2 came up again as we're trying to test our equipment for the live show. So
Yeah.
here we are recording in Tim's kitchen the old-fashioned way, like old times, just the two of us. Just the two of us. But yeah, it wouldn't be a preparation podcast thing for us if we didn't fuck something up.
No.
Here we are.
Here we are, episode 99. We're going to get into Bound for Glory 2005 from TNA.
You know what also sounds delicious to get into?
Oh, I'm thinking some pizza. How about that? From Clemento's Pizzeria and Brew. They're sponsoring our podcast, and we thank them so much for that. We'll be live there this coming Friday, October 29th, for episode 100. Clemento's Pizzeria and Brew is located at 160 Washington Street in Rochester, New Hampshire. Come join us. Hey, mention our podcast when you go there now through the end of November. And you can there's 4 specials that you can get in on, and they're all fantastic. You have a small cheese for $6.99 or a large cheese for only $9.99. You can get a domestic beer pitcher for $8.99, or you can get a 16-ounce draft beer and a steak and cheese sub for only $11.99. Now, my math, you can get all 4 of those for less than $40.
If you're a hungry boy.
Yes.
Which, I mean.
And thirsty.
We're going to be there for a little while, so you might need to use all those specials.
You absolutely.
Steve never told us you can only use one.
Nope.
So.
Absolutely. So we're going to be there live next, this coming Friday, actually. Hard to believe it's less than a week away.
Yep. 6 days.
6 days away until episode 100. We'll do a Rampage watch along. We have some giveaways. I think we're going to get Steve, the owner of Clemento's, on the podcast if we can get our microphones to work. It's still a work in progress with that. It's been like a 3-week adventure.
The good news is the microphones plug into the mixer now.
Yes, that's true.
The problem is that last week, not one of us thought, hey, how do we get the mixer to the computer? So we have the problem 1 solved, 100% solved. And we just don't have a way to get it to the computer yet, which the cable will be here thanks to Amazon Prime on Monday.
Yes. So hopefully I'll do some test work on Monday, and hopefully we'll get everything situated. But either way, it's going to be a good time. Episode 100, Friday, October 29th. And like I said, thanks to Clemento's for sponsoring our podcast.
Yeah, I take back everything bad I said about Steve. He's all right. I'm just kidding, buddy. Love you.
Absolutely. One more thing on Mongo. Before Mongo departed for the high seas, he did record a little segment for you guys about the TNA Bound for Glory. So we'll play that at the end. Full disclosure, we haven't listened to it because it was 12 minutes and we didn't have time.
Well, and not only that, we didn't want it to skew any of our thoughts of our own. So
that's true.
We usually don't talk about any of this beforehand. We don't want to influence one way or the other. We don't want to end up stealing each other's ideas by accident because somebody says something, and then it's easier just to watch it and then say what we're thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can hear Mongo's thoughts at the very end of the show about Bound for Glory. So well, let's get right into it. This is episode 99. Bound for Glory 05, 16 years ago. Hard to believe. It's been a while.
Yeah, I have a 16-year-old son, so it's just crazy to think about.
Think about that, yeah, absolutely. So this is the first ever Bound for Glory. They have positioned it as their WrestleMania, their Super Bowl pay-per-view. 11 matches to discuss. One pre-show match, which was a fatal just a four-way match. You have Sunday Dutt getting a win over Alex Shelley, Austin Aries, and Roderick Strong in about 12 minutes. I'm not going to lie, I would have liked to have seen this one.
They showed the highlights.
They showed a little bit of the highlight they showed was just like the roll-up at the end.
Yeah, it was Sunday Dutt hitting his move to win it.
Yeah. So they did show that. This would have been a great, I think a great match to watch. And 12 minutes is actually a pretty decent amount of time for a pre-show match. It's actually one of the longer matches on the card as a whole. You have the Iron Man match is the longest, and you only have one other match that's a little bit longer than that. So, but yeah, I mean, all four of these guys can go, and this would have been a really good one to watch. I think.
I agree. As four guys that can really produce, some of them are still producing today.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. We opened up the card with I had to do a double take when I saw this on the card. Not with Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, obviously, we've covered him quite a while on TNA now. He did a really cool entrance, too, with the Samoan.
Yeah, I put on there, I said, undefeated Samoa Joe comes out to old Uso-style Samoan entrance war dance style.
It was kind of interesting seeing Samoa Joe do a dance, but it was really cool. But he's taking on Jushin Thunder Liger, which I never realized he was in TNA at all.
No, me neither.
And he actually just got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this past year, so congratulations to him. I thought this match was good. I mean, I'll be fully honest with you. I'm not familiar with Liger's work a whole lot. I mean, I've seen some of his matches, but not a whole lot. I thought this was really good. I would have liked this one to go a little bit longer, maybe 10-minute match or so. It was only 7.5 minutes. But I think they did the right thing by having Joe go over against a veteran, gives him more credibility. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really solid start to the show.
Yeah, they showed the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Simon Inoki, in the crowd before. Mike Tenay also brought up that Liger, his history in WCW, that actually hit the first match in Nitro history was Liger and Pillman. Oh, wow. Ironically enough, and that Liger was the second ever Cruiserweight champion in the history of WCW. But yeah, Joe hits the Muscle Buster into the Coquina Clutch at 7:27, and I even put to add more to what you said. I put it seemed like a quicker match than expected to me, but a very solid match.
Yeah, I did like the ending where they do the the arm drop 3 times. You don't see that a whole lot. Yeah. It's usually 2 and then 1.
Usually the Hulk Hogan
comeback. So that was interesting. You don't see that too often. But yeah, definitely could have went a little bit longer, but a really good opener.
Yeah, like I said, after I put the time, I literally put in quotes. Seemed like a quicker match than expected. So yeah, it definitely seemed like it was. It never necessarily got going. It was still a good match. It just seems like it started and then ended. Like there was almost nothing in the middle. So, but I mean, the match itself was a very solid way to start the show. And ironically enough, it wasn't a 6-man tag to start the show.
I was going to mention that. Yeah, no, I mean they did that in the pre-show this time.
But then the second match was a 6-man.
We have. Don't worry, we have a couple 6-man tags coming up.
I will say this show was really good, but we do have some clusterfuckery on this show.
Yes, we do. But the next couple matches, kind of.
Yeah.
So we have a 6-man tag match with the Diamonds in the Rough, which was David Young, Elix Skipper, and Simon Diamond, getting a win over Apollo, Shark Boy, and Sonny Siaki in about 7 minutes. Shark Boy really over with the crowd.
Yep.
It was a solid match. I just wasn't really invested in this one. The diamonds in the rough, I could care less about. I mean, Apollo and Sonny Siaki are good. They're really good talent. They really can go. Again, before we started covering TNA, I wasn't really familiar with their work, but it was all right. But it's hard to be invested in this one.
Well, and Elix Skipper is the one that did the moonsault off the cage in the infamous beginning of the TNA.
Yes.
So he also could go. But yeah, I mean, Simon Diamond and David Young, I don't think anybody really gave two shits about them. No offense to them. It was also interesting that Sonny Siaki had miraculously recovered from a serious neck injury from the past show that we watched.
Mm-hmm.
He was out with a serious neck injury, and then wow, look at this! The next month, he's just back, ready to go. They played that up at the last pay-per-view that we watched last month, that he had a serious neck injury. Well, he wasn't that serious, clearly, because he's back in the ring. But obviously, it's probably a kayfabe injury, or he might have had something done, but it wasn't serious, thankfully. There was one cool segment in the match that I made sure I jotted down. It was a sequence of springboard and suicide dives that was capped off by Apollo. Now, mind you, Apollo's 6'4", 295 pounds, and he does a dive over the top rope, which was impressive for a guy that size to do. David Young hits a spine buster on Siaki to win the match. Weird that a spine buster was the way the match ended, but it was. I put that it was an okay match. It was nothing, like you said, there was really nothing special about this match. And even though it was a 6-man, it still wasn't as much of a cluster as it could have been. It was a smoother kind of 6-man, so it wasn't terrible. Put it that way.
Yeah. Next up, we have a singles match.
Let's make sure. I made sure I noted a few things between match 2 and 3. We had a talk about the first 30 minutes, is what they called it, the pre-show. They showed the Dud highlights that we talked about, and they also mentioned that Raven called out Larry Zbyszko.
Did you hear the derogatory term that Rhino called Raven that they were offended with?
What was it?
Pathetic.
Oh, he's pathetic.
They made a whole big thing about it. He called it pathetic, like it was the worst insult in the world.
You would have thought he called him like a 4-letter word,
something like that,
homophobic slur or something. But yeah, Zbyszko calls out Raven calls out Zbyszko. Speak English, please. and demands to get a title shot against Jarrett because Kevin Nash is not able to compete, which is why we have this gauntlet at the end. We'll get there. Stay with us. Mm-hmm. Rhino comes out and confronts Raven, leads to Rhino getting a gore by Raven. Rhino giving a gore to Raven. So I just wanted to fill that in. And then after that, they went to a backstage segment, more or less kind of giving Jarrett's thoughts on what happened on the pre-show. And Monty Brown interrupts that and says he wants a shot, and that Jarrett says that Monty Brown needs to worry about, quote, the ticked off Texan in the ring that he's going to face tonight. Mm-hmm. So not trying to cut you off. I just wanted to, I made sure that I tried to format the show. Yeah. So after
Roland's a little bit more prepared than I am for today's episode.
Bomb notes, dude. So after match 3, we also have a segment that I want to talk about. So let's talk about match 3.
All right. Match 3 is Monty Brown against that pissed off Texan, which is Lance Hoyt or Lance Archer now. It's a singles match, went about 6.5 minutes, and I don't know. I can't get into the whole Monty Brown thing. I mean, his football acumen, he played on 2 Super Bowl teams, borderline Hall of Famer there. But
like Mongo, let's say what Mongo would normally say. He was on their practice squads. That's usually Mongo's shtick, so we'll throw that in there. I'm sure he'll mention it in his 12 minutes.
He probably will.
12 minutes of Mongo.
Oh man! But anyways, I don't know. In the pound fight, I just never got you in with the shoulder tackle.
He's a football player, Timothy. What do you expect?
I know. I guess Hacksaw Jim Duggan kind of did the same type of
Mongo and Michael used to do like a 3-point stance kind of weird thing. It was speaking of that.
Shout out to Mongo. Hoping he's doing well. He doesn't look the greatest.
He's got ALS. And I no offense to Ric Flair, but I sent a picture to you guys in the group chat.
Mm-hmm.
If I were Flair or if I were Steve McMichael, he stopped doing personal appearances out, in the public because he felt like he looked like shit. That picture that Flair shared, it makes you feel sad. I know a lot of people kind of make fun of Mongo because his wrestling, and not our Mongo, but Mongo McMichael. We make fun of our Mongo too, but it's tough because the poor guy, nobody deserves to look the way he looks, and he looks like he's in rough shape. And if I were Ric Flair, I hope he actually got Mongo's permission to put that picture out because he looks horrible.
Yeah.
I'm getting emotional just thinking about it because I grew up watching the guy, and he looks in rough shape. So hopefully he's able to at least be pain free and get through what will be his last years. He's battling ALS, so it's an uphill battle, big time. And he did look really rough. So hopefully he's feeling well and able to do some things, that he enjoys, whether it's watching something or whatever, that at least makes it tolerable, because he did look like he was in rough shape. So
yeah, absolutely. And while we're kind of on that subject, I mentioned Hacksaw Jim Duggan not too long ago. Thoughts of prayers to him. He had emergency surgery this past week. I think everything is okay now.
It seemed like he was going home. I saw the picture of him going home. So
that's good news. But thoughts and prayers still with Jim there.
So my thoughts on the Monty Brown match is I put it a Monty Brown Lance Hoyt. I put that it was a very physical match. I said both men are a little underrated in my opinion, and I put Hoyt more than Brown. Now Monty Brown, I think he was impressive for some of the stuff he could do. Was he too vanilla at times? Probably. Like I don't know how to describe it best. Just saying he was kind of plain, I guess is the best way to say it. I think he tried a little bit too hard to be charismatic at times, and it showed. There was a cool spot where an impressive moonsault by Hoyt on off the top, over the top rope onto the floor, and then there was. It's weird that even in this era, like you have to have moves named after yourself. Like Monty Brown hits an alpha bomb. It's like, okay, that's cool and everything. But yeah, a pounce to end it. I thought it was actually a sneaky good match, surprisingly. I didn't maybe because I had low expectations, but it was actually a relatively solid match in my opinion. Again, it wasn't, the catch as catch can style of match. Like you're not going to see the Young Bucks and,
Lucha Bros.
Yeah, Lucha Bros style of match out of these two guys, but it was still a solid match in my opinion. Especially I think because I had the expectation that it was going to suck.
Yeah, I agree. And just I mentioned this point before when we recorded the shows, but just it seems like Lance Hoyt never gets a victory out of these shows.
Yep.
It's just that these big shows, these big pay-per-views, it just seems like, he's always there. He's always on the card somehow, but he just never wins.
Maybe it's that tramp stamp.
It could be. Could be. You'd be sending him back.
Yeah. But yeah, so after this, we have an interview segment that furthers the 3 Live Crew and Kip James drama. Shane Douglas is talking to 3 Live Crew. Kip James comes up to offer to watch their back because Scott D'Amore will be out there, so there'll be 4-on-3 disadvantage. Conan was not a fan of that. BG and Ron Killing seemed to like the idea a little bit, but Conan didn't want to have anything to do with it. He pretty much told them to get screwed, and Kip said, fine, you're on your own. Yep. Which he wasn't. We'll get there. You're on your own.
Yeah. It's interesting to know too. When during the entrances, Mike Tenay mentioned their WWE run. He said that they were the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, and that they were former WWE Tag Team Champions. So that was kind of interesting to know that they, mentioned the competition, so to speak.
Yeah, well, that's the one difference I will say is that most of these other smaller, again using air quotes, smaller companies actually don't mind mentioning that another company exists, where WWE's like there are no other companies.
Yeah.
That's the one big difference. But yeah, it was cool to have Tenay mention the past of the guys, so people knew what was going on.
And you kind of have to be. The fans are not stupid. They know who these people are.
Well, so you can't just pretend like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then say, oh, they have history.
Yeah.
Leave it at that.
Yeah.
So, I agree. Totally agree.
Next up is a 6-man tag. You have Team Canada represented by A1 Steak Sauce, Bobby Roode, Eric Young with Scott D'Amore, getting a win over 3 Live Crew, BD James, Conan, and Ron Killings in 6 minutes.
A1, does that work out?
Kind of, it works. Again, it's an okay match. I've ad nauseum, I've gone over this whole Team Canada thing. I don't like it. And it seems like the whole BG James and Kip James storyline just goes on forever. I thought we were done with it before.
Well, and it's not even just the Team Canada thing, but it's also a 6-man with Team Canada.
Yeah,
so it's a cluster. Plus,
I don't know. But yeah, it's an okay match. I'm trying to recall the finish in my head, and I'm drawing a blank. So, Roland, if you want to take it,
I do have that in my notes. I will note that the beginning of the match, Conan was on fire at the beginning of the match. He started off the match clearing house on all three of the Team Canada members. At one point in the match, they show Kip actually sitting at the entrance ramp.
Yes.
So just about 2 or 3 minutes in, they show him up there. So he was not alone, obviously, but and then there was a spot where Mike Tenay calls Scott D'Amore that cheeseburger eating Scott D'Amore. I made sure to put that in my notes. But yeah, so D'Amore throws a hockey stick in behind the referee's back to Eric Young. Eric Young breaks it over BG's head, pins him. Team Canada hold. And Team Canada holds Conan for Kip to hit him with a chair. And then Kip actually hits Team Canada and shows his alliance there. I didn't even put okay match. I put match. So it was.
You can only go to the well so many times with these.
The well's fucking dry.
Yeah, it is.
At this point, the well's dry.
It is. It's.
I do like that they progressed the storyline so that way like Kip was starting to like win them over.
Yeah.
But it seemed like this storyline's been going on since we started watching.
I know.
Like we're in October. It seems like this storyline of like
and you thought the last pay-per-view we did when BG sided with Kip, like you thought it was done, and now we're doing this again. Like why?
Yeah, it's definitely something that they drew out. They purposely made it longer than it needed to be, but then they made it too long.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was nice to kind of see what you would hope to be some closure. And you would have figured this spot where Conan didn't trust him and then he proved that he could trust him would have happened like 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what we're getting at. It took a while.
It took a long time.
Too long.
Okay, I can't wait to talk about this next match. This is the Ultimate X match to become the number one contender for the TNA X Division Championship. You have Petey Williams going to retain, I guess, by Chris Sabin and Matt Bentley with Tracy in about 13 minutes. All right, here's the thing. The wrestling itself is good. I mean, these guys can go. They're X Division people.
I think I know where he's going with this, folks.
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. The fucking X falls in the middle of the match, and they have these guys set up a ladder while there's still wrestling going on to fix the X. And Don West is like, "Oh, this happens before. It's common." Blah, blah, blah. Like, attach the X better. Like what?
They had like zip ties on it.
Yeah, and it's like what? And this is what I don't get. So they spent all this time to set the X back up. Is you have to. For those of you who don't know,
you have to capture the X.
You have to capture the X, which is like hanging up in the middle. You have to it's like almost like an American Gladiator. You have to go up the ropes and
so
like kind of monkey bar your way to the center.
You have scaffolding on each side.
Yeah,
it's an X. The ring cable is essentially above the ring,
yeah,
holding the X. So you have to go up one side of the scaffolding and then either shimmy your way over or climb your way over like monkey bars, whatever, to get to the X. So
yes. So you have to do that. So that's why they spent all this time putting the X back up. And then it falls again, and Petey Williams catches the damn thing, and then he's the winner.
And Mike Tenay is like, that doesn't count. They're
that's
like,
not
no,
how you win the match. So they praised the referee was Slick Johnson. Yeah. They praised him for making him put the X back up because you can't win the match. But then Slick Johnson awards the match to Petey by just catching the X. Like what?
And Petey Williams is camped into that X like a foul, like a baseball player catching a pop up for like an hour, watching it wiggle, and then he's just like, I caught it. And it's like wait.
What? So that just took away from the whole match for me because these three are really talented wrestlers, but you had so much stuff going on. I'm like, you can't make sure the X is like secure up there. Like I don't
carabiner,
something like that.
Something that would clip on duct tape. So something would have been better than the way they had it. Well, that's the thing too. So it's suspended on ropes. You know what the ropes do? They move.
Yeah.
So like that's what caused the issue is the rope. They were hanging from the ropes and they're shaking the ropes like the Ultimate Warrior, and they're wondering why the X fell down. It's because you didn't secure it very well. That's why. Jeff Jarrett's like, we don't have money in the budget for that. I got to use 2 guitars later on tonight. But so I don't. You have anything more you want to add?
No, I'm good. I'm off my soapbox now.
It's not a bad soapbox to be on, to be honest with you. At one point, Tracy distracts Petey Williams, and Tenay says that, quote, she put his head right between those 2 distractions. That was a funny spot that I thought. The start of this match to me rivaled the action in the Daniels Joe AJ match. Mm-hmm. The wrestling, the start of it, for like the first couple minutes, It felt like that. There were dives out of the ring. There was some back and forth stuff. The match started off really good. And then the X fell. Then instead of the other shoe dropped, then the X dropped. Not once but twice. And that's pretty much what the rest of my notes said. I did say there was a crazy powerbomb spot on Bentley by Sabin while hanging from the cables. Yeah, that was cool. And then Sabin hits the Charlotte Flair moonsault spot on Bentley on the floor off the corner like that Charlotte does every match now. Other than that, it was a cluster at the end with the X falling down and all that good stuff. After this match, there was a video package showing the AMW helping Jarrett get the NWA title the night before, or previously rather. And then they decimate Team 3D. They do a funeral spot for them, which actually makes sense for later on in the show. It took me a minute because I didn't understand but we'll get there. So they have a funeral spot, and then the night before was when Gail Kim and Jeff Jarrett helped AMW beat the Naturals for the titles on Impact. Yep. So they had the video package leading into this match. So that was the other video package I wanted to discuss.
Yeah. So that leads into the next match, is a tag team match for the NWA World Tag Team Champions. You have America's Most Wanted James Storm and Chris Harris
with Gail Kim
against the Naturals, Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens
without Jimmy Hart.
That's what I was just going to bring that up. Did I miss something with Jimmy Hart?
Hulk Hogan reeled him back, and he's like, "No, that doesn't work for me, brother.
I need you to work 10 to 6 at the beach shop, brother."
Hey, full disclosure, that's where I ran into. It wasn't even the beach; it was Hogan's Beach. Like it was a spot that's not even open anymore. It was in Clearwater, and it was funny. My wife and I went on our honeymoon there in 2015, and we were driving by. We saw the sign, so we looped back around. We pull in the parking lot. And my wife thinks that there's like a bouncer type person like letting people in. The guy had no shirt on, tan as Hulk Hogan's leather hide usually looks, and it was Jimmy Hart of all people. I'm like, we started walking, we got closer. I'm like, that's fucking Jimmy Hart. So he was cool. Let's take a picture with him. He's like, let me put a shirt on first. He was pretty cool. Speaking of Jimmy Hart, but yeah, I'm glad that we both noticed that he just like wasn't there, just gone.
The match was good. What I didn't get about this one, this is where they used the beer bottle at the end, right? What I didn't understand is how the referee didn't notice it, because he's counting, and you can see him hurt his hand because he's counting on the glass.
Well, because James Storm did a really good job of convincing the ref that the fan threw it in.
Oh, okay.
Did you see that? There was a spot where he's like, no, they threw it in. And
so I didn't get that. The match itself was good. I mean, I think AMW is a really underrated tag team. Shout out to James Storm. He did a really nice shout out for
he did.
Our podcast. We really appreciate that.
My buddy James Storm.
Yes. They handicapped, was it Andy Douglas, I believe, handcuffs, I should say.
Let me see. Yes.
Who the Andy Douglas.
because Stevens took the beer bottle to the head.
Yeah, Stevens took the beer bottle to the head. So it was a good match. You had your typical heel kind of heat with the win there. And their way they went kind of lives up to their gimmick, which is kind of cool. So I enjoyed this one. I think right now this is kind of where the card kind of picks up a little bit.
Yeah.
The first and the matches are longer. This is, the last match was 13 minutes. This one's about 10 and a half. Before that, we had 6-7 minute matches. So
yeah.
Card's really picking up here, but I was really impressed. Like I said, the Naturals really impressed me. Like I was not familiar with the work before we started doing these TNA episodes, so I enjoyed this one. This is a good tag team match to watch.
Yeah, there was a spot in the match where Gail Kim passes some powder to Chris Harris, and Stevens kicks the powder into Harris's face, and then Storm hits him, or then Harris hits Storm.
Hits him if he thinks he's hitting somebody else.
We did that. I think where the Naturals messed up a little bit was after that they tried to do the AMW death sentence move.
Yes,
and I think that they were trying to show off a little bit too much, which they, like I said, the strategy aspect of it pays off well with these two teams. They both are very good at tag team wrestling. You can tell by the way the match is laid out. There's not as many slip-ups. Like usually in a 6-man, it's kind of like a little bit. There was a lot going on, but the match felt good still. It still flowed. Then Gail Kim distracts Douglas, and then ends up helping Harris handcuff Douglas to the guardrail. That's like what you were talking about there. Gail Kim distracts the ref, allowing Storm to smash beer bottle over Stevens' head. Storm tells the ref that fan threw the bottle in the ring. LOL. I wrote that. But yeah, and then AMW hits the death sentence on him for the 1, 2, 3. I put that this was a solid match with maybe a little too much Gaga.
Yeah.
Just a smidge, but it was definitely a good match. And then they air a video package. This is the video. If there was not a video package we didn't talk about, this is the one I wanted to make sure we talked about, like point blank. So they air a video package explaining the Monsters Ball match.
Yeah.
And TNA starts off by stating that starting at midnight on the eve before Bound for Glory, that the competitors will be locked in separate rooms with no food, no water, no light of day until they are turned loose on Bound for Glory. Wait, what? You guys are gonna just put these guys in a room? They can't is that the difference between a Monsters Ball match? You can't be happy the day before. No food, no water, shit in a bucket. It's just weird the way that they made that up. And yeah, they just pretty much more or less showed the different drama between Hardy and Rhino and Abyss and Sabu. So
yeah.
And James Mitchell cut the hell of a promo here.
Yeah, James Mitchell can really cut a promo.
I know you're a fan of him.
I am. I don't know how he hasn't made it further in the business than he has. I mean, like I mentioned before, putting him with a guy like a Malachi Black right now would be just phenomenal. Yeah. Or even a Bray Wyatt. You do some. That would be awesome. I'm assuming Bray Wyatt's going to reinvent his gimmick somehow. Yeah, and just put James Mitchell with him.
You imagine if the Dark Order had stayed the way they were, if he was the mouthpiece for them.
Yeah,
that would have worked
too. He's really talented. I'm a big fan of him. But yeah, the Monsters Ball match was about 12 minutes, 12 and a half minutes. It's your hardcore 4-way match, It was bloody. There was a wicked cool Swanton Bomb off the top of the stage with Jeff Hardy onto Abyss.
Yeah, I put in quotes that was the typical crazy Jeff spot.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's always one per match.
Yeah. Everybody's bleeding. Sabu's bleeding above the eye. Rhino's bleeding. Everybody's bleeding in this match.
You notice on that Swanton that Abyss got back into the ring before Hardy?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So they furthered that he was a monster by him surviving that and then getting back into the ring minutes before Hardy too. It seemed like forever before Hardy. Hardy's dragging himself to the ring and Abyss is already in the ring.
Yeah. But it's probably not for everyone. No. I like Eric Bischoff wouldn't like this match because he does not like hardcore matches.
Bischoff's still trying to figure out what the X division is.
Yeah.
He for as much as I like Bischoff and his thoughts and stuff, sometimes he goes a little too granular. What's the X division? Clearly it's a modified cruiserweight division, essentially. Mm-hmm. It's an undercard title that has people that can go almost like an intercontinental title, really is what it is. Yeah. So it's a cruiserweight intercontinental kind of weird. And he's still well, what is it? Yeah. It's that's what it is. Sorry, you don't have a better definition for you, but that's what it is. He's always, when they talk about TNA, he's always hung up on well, what is the X division? Mm-hmm. It's that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. So, I enjoy these type of matches. For entertainment purposes only. They're not great wrestling matches by any means. It is kind of interesting, and we'll get into this a little bit later, that they're pushing Rhino here. Yeah. Which, you don't think of Rhino as a guy that you would want to push. You would think out of these four, I would think you would want to maybe push Abyss because he's a homegrown talent.
Or even
Hardy because he's a name. Even, Sabu, again, he's well respected in the business, but I don't know if he's the level of talent you want to push.
Yeah. But Rhino kind of falls into that category a little bit, though, too. Yeah. And not that Rhino wasn't a better wrestler than Sabu, because he was. He was. Sabu was more of that, deathmatch style kind of wrestling with a few things mixed in. But yeah, Rhino falls into that ECW thing where you don't think of them as main eventers for a different company. Yeah. I guess the best way to describe it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah.
Rhino ended up hitting the Rhino driver from the second rope on Hardy to win the match. Mm-hmm. That's how that went down. That looked like it hurt.
That was a devastating. I've never seen him do that move before. No. They called it a Rhino driver. Yeah. So apparently he used it before.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it. Yeah, off the top of my head, usually it was just a gore. But that match, that move looked like it hurt. Yeah, and it's not like Hardy has a lot of extra blubber or weight to help him. He's a skinny guy. So that probably didn't feel good. No. Which is probably why he walks around limpy to this day still.
Yeah.
Jeff Hardy's always limping and holding his back and what it's like, dude, he's lucky he's still walking upright. Like, to be honest with you, some of the stuff, prime example, that dive you took, like you said, off the entrance stage, if you had to guess, it was probably like a 25 foot drop. Like it was
deep. It was a significant drop. Yeah, it definitely was.
But yeah, and he's only landing on 2 tables and abyss, so it's not, and then the concrete, so it's not. They didn't have it set up for him to land on a crash pad, or it was. You better land on the tables. If not, you're going to hit that concrete. And you see on like WrestleBotch and stuff like that where people try to do stupid shit, and you hear him hit the concrete, and you're like, oh. And that when Hardy jumps, you're like, oh boy. And then he hits it perfectly, and you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah. Because
it could go really bad.
Oh, yeah.
After this is when they finally make the decision. The championship committee has made the decision. Zbyszko says there will be a 10-man over-the-top gauntlet match to determine Jarrett, the number 1 contender for Jarrett's title. And Jarrett, for whatever reason, doesn't like the decision. Now, mind you, Jeff Jarrett is the champion. He's a heel champion. I get it, but pretty much everybody in this match has already wrestled 1 match at this point, other than Kip.
Yeah,
and then they have to wrestle a 3rd match. So, like, why wouldn't you be like, okay, send him to me, like whoever it is? Because I mean, I know he's a heel, so he's supposed to not like it. But in retrospect, they've already gone through at least 1 match.
Yeah,
more or less. Like, I'd be like, all right, fuck it. Send him out there. Let's see who can survive. Yeah. Because they didn't put Raven in it, which we'll get there. You know, that was the one shocker in that was that Raven, even though he wanted to be included, was not included in that match.
It's also a shocker that Shocker wasn't in there.
Shocker. Yeah, where's he at right now?
I don't know. He wasn't on this show.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Next up is a 30-minute Iron Man match for the X Division Championship. You have AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels here. The match itself goes, 30 minutes. That's the name of the match.
I don't know why that popped me so much, but it did. The match goes, 30 minutes.
This was I guess pun intended, was a phenomenal match.
It was.
The first 10 minutes was all dominated by AJ, and Christopher Daniels dominated the match, and then just a lot of back and forth, a lot of pure wrestling. Like, if you're a pure wrestling fan, this is one to watch. And it just goes to show you how great AJ and Christopher Daniels are. And it was a great match, and I like the finish. It was a 1-0 match.
Yep.
With AJ winning with the Styles Clash at the very end with like a second left to go. So I did like that, how it wasn't 5-4 or anything like that. I mean, I liked it was 1-0. I just don't have enough good things to say about this match from a pure wrestling standpoint. And what I like about it too is, you had for the fans of like the hardcore match, you got that with the last match, but for the pure wrestling, you got this here. So they're giving you a mixture of styles. They're trying to please everybody here. And so for wrestling purists, I mean, I don't know how you could not be pleased with this match.
Yeah, I mean, 3 minutes into the match, AJ Styles hits a crossbody with Daniels in the crowd. Like 3 minutes in. So this match starts off on fire. There's a lot of back and forth. Halfway through the match, it was still, like Tim said, it was 1-0. So halfway through, it was 0-0, still at the 15-minute mark. Daniels hits a BME at the 19-minute mark for a near fall. AJ hits a spinning torture rack powerbomb for a near fall shortly after that. Then AJ takes a nasty bump out of the ring where he hits the stairs on the way down. He then ends up getting back. Daniels gets back in the ring. AJ hits him with a Pele kick, and then he follows that up with a flip dive to Daniels from the ring to the floor. 7 minutes left. Nasty looking and sounding backdrop when they both were on the apron. They both went down to the mat, to the floor off the apron. That was brutal. That looked horrible with about 7 minutes left. And then and Daniels actually was the one that did the backdrop onto AJ. And then we have, with about 3 minutes left, both men looked like they were like just dead, which they should have. I mean, it was a long match, physical match. Daniels pulls the tights for a 2 3/4 count with 1:45 to go. Then AJ with a near fall with 45 seconds left. Then he hits the Styles Clash with, like Tim said, 10 seconds left, and pins Daniel with 1 second left. Easily the best match of the night. I put 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
if I had, I mean, it was easily. It was very similar, very close to the 5-star match that was last week or last month.
Last month, yeah.
That I referenced earlier, the Styles, Joe, and Daniels match. Very close with only 2 guys. So you can't say enough about what AJ Styles could do back then, what he can still do. Daniels has done it for a long time. Now he's kind of with Impact, sort of. I mean, I know he's still with AEW too, but he kind of popped back up in Impact.
Mm-hmm.
So, these two guys, if they're together in a match, they're not going to cease to amaze you.
Yeah.
Just their chemistry was so good. They were really good friends in real life. So, obviously they talked about certain things and it showed. These guys together, you're not going to beat it.
No.
I mean, you're just not. And I know that, like Tim said, sometimes you have people like Meltzer that don't want to, that seem to be like flip spot monkeys, to quote unquote, some people and stuff like that. But this match had the wrestling, it had some spots, this was a fantastic match.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Next up is that 10-man gauntlet to replace Kevin Nash in the main event. Match was 14 minutes. So basically, the rules are it's kind of like a mini Royal Rumble.
It was weird that the first two competitors had a 2-minute gap.
Yeah,
and then it went down to a one. I don't know.
I don't get that either.
Yeah, I don't know if they realized they weren't going to have enough time.
Yeah,
because I know they had to. Back then, you had to actually buy the pay-per-view time. So I wonder if they were like, we don't have enough time for 2 minutes. We got to shave it to one.
Yeah,
because it was pretty much a 3-hour show on the.
It was a long show.
I assume that they were like, we don't have enough time.
So I'll run down the entrances. 1 and 2 were Samoa Joe and Ron Killings, followed by Sabu, Lance Hoyt, Abyss, and Jeff Hardy. Monty Brown was in at number 7. Rhino came in at 8, followed by Kip James at 9, and then AJ Styles at 10. It was, I don't know, it's hard to dissect these type of matches because there's not a whole lot of wrestling going involved because you're not trying to win with the wrestling move. You're trying to throw the guy over the top rope. So, it was an okay match for what it was. Rhino gets the win, last eliminating Abyss. There was some, cool interaction between Ron Killings and Samoa Joe in the beginning where Ron's kind of making fun of
mocking his dancing and heritage
and stuff like that. So, like I said, it's hard to break these ones down. I mean,
Sabu came out and brought a chair into the match.
Yeah, Sabu brought a chair.
I put that in my notes with a question mark. I'm like, why? But,
so, it was an okay for what it was. Its purpose was to set up the main event, so it did that, obviously. But yeah, like I said, these matches are kind of hard to break down.
Joe and Abyss had that cool spot where they kind of traded chops in the middle of the ring. That was kind of cool. Monty Brown. Let's talk about Monty Brown again for a minute. He comes out seventh guy in. He hits a pounce on Sabu, and then he power slams Hardy essentially over the ropes. Yeah. And then I made sure I put in my notes that quote unquote he went with him over the top rope. He had to springboard himself over the ropes. Like, it looked so bad.
Yeah,
it looked horrible. And then TNA has the gall to be like, "Oh, you didn't know the rules." It's like he jumped out of the fucking ring. Yeah. Like, I get what they were trying to do, but it was a bad spot.
There was also a whole big thing where like they went on for about 10 minutes whether Sabu was eliminated or not in the match.
then they finally we got confirmation that Sabu has been eliminated. They hadn't seen him for like 10 minutes. Like, we think he's out of the match, but we're not real sure. And then so it came down to Kip James, Abyss, Rhino, Samoa Joe, Truth, and AJ at one point. It got knocked down to those 6. And then Kip at one point tried to save Truth. Mm-hmm. He tried to keep him in. That didn't last because referees made Kip go away. And so he also showed more allegiance to 3 Live Crew. And then Truth is eliminated there. Abyss eliminates Joe and AJ together with the double dump over the top ropes. And then at this point, you're kind of thinking Abyss is going to win this match.
Yeah.
Like at this point, it's Abyss and Rhino, and you're like, there's no way Rhino's going to win this match. Well, Rhino hits a gore on him and eliminates him for the title shot. Yep. So it was, as soon as it came down to those two in my head, I thought for sure. I purposely made sure I didn't look at the match card.
Yeah.
So I didn't spoil it for myself because I wanted to see it because I don't remember. I probably saw pieces of these matches at times. I have TNA DVDs at home, so I've probably seen like maybe the AJ Daniels match I might have seen before or parts of it or whatever. So I couldn't remember who was going to win the gauntlet match. So I made sure I didn't look ahead. I didn't spoil it. So I was surprised.
Yeah. And so that leads us right into the main event match for the TNA or NWA World Heavyweight title. Rhino and Jeff Jarrett with Gail Kim. Cheeto Ortiz is a special guest referee. Okay. Like, I don't. It's like
he's a name.
He's a name. Yeah.
Exactly
the match was sanctioned by the NWA.
Yeah.
They said that about 100 times. It's a lot of Gaga in this one.
I know. I put right at the beginning. I put Jarrett brings out a casket to the ring like he's the fucking Undertaker.
Yeah,
but then it makes sense because they did the funeral for Team 3D. So that's why I said it'll make sense. Like, at the beginning when I first took the notes, I was like, "What?" And then I was like, "Oh, that's right."
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my exact notes. I'm like, he's the fucking Undertaker.
Yeah. Just so much Gaga. I mean, the match itself only went 5.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Which it's kind of a letdown for a main event title match.
Yeah.
Granted, Rhino's wrestled about 47 times on the show, but
and one of them was the Monsters Ball match.
Yeah, and he didn't eat or drink or see light or
for
anything
for a whole day before this. So he's running on fumes.
Yeah, he's running on fumes.
2 days.
But yeah, I mean, there's so much interference going on in this.
Well, at one point, Rhino kicks Jarrett in the nuts, and it's just okay.
Yeah.
Like, so this match is
sanctioned. Yeah, that's true.
This match is sanctioned by the NWA, and they said it 437 times. And at one point, Rhino just up and punt kicks him in the nuts.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's just okay? Like, really?
Gail Kim distracted Ortiz. Jarrett hit Rhino with the guitar. AMW comes to the ring
with the second guitar.
Which
is why we couldn't secure the X figure because we had to have 2 guitars.
But then Rhino hits Jeff Jarrett with the gore. Gets the 1, 2, 3. But what I didn't like about it is he did not sell that gore. He got right back up after the 3.
Yeah.
Like I don't get that. Like sell it for at least a minute or so.
Yeah, I mean, you have A&W there to beat Rhino down after the match anyways, so you don't need to get up. You should have had one of them maybe come over and help you up or whatever. But yeah, you're right. He was up awfully early after that.
Then there's a brawl between Team Canada and 3 Live Crew afterwards. A&W's there, and then
they put Rhino into the casket.
Then obviously music hits, and Team 3D comes back from the dead and just kicks some ass. So
and ends up putting Eric Young in the casket.
Yeah.
Which is probably where his mental stability went downhill. It was probably that one moment where he decided to then go crazy down the road.
Yeah. So I mean, just it. I don't know. It just as a main event, this is your biggest show of the year. This is your go home match for the biggest show of the year. A little disappointing. A lot of it was all Gaga, really, all interference, all shenanigans. So. I would have liked to seen a little bit more of an actual match go on to end the show. So yeah, just a little disappointed with the main event.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they kind of had to do the audible because I don't know when exactly they knew that Nash wasn't going to be able to compete. So it did seem like at the end of the show, excuse me, was a little jumbled, I guess would be the best way to put it. And then I don't know how much of that they were, strapped for time. So, but yeah, it was definitely a little bit of a cluster at the end. And yeah, then they have pretty much everybody and their mother come down to the ring before Team 3D shows up. So,
yeah, it's just like, it's like when you get a pizza with all the toppings on it.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
There's no pizza. It was just toppings.
It's just toppings.
There was no wrestling.
But you can get a pizza with all the toppings you want at Clemento's Pizzeria and Brew. They sponsor our podcast, and we thank them very much. We're going to be there this coming Friday night.
6 days.
6 days away. We are 6-pack away. We're Sean Waltman away from episode 100, October 29th, live at Clemento's Pizzeria and Brew. They're located at 160 Washington Street in Rochester, New Hampshire. Real easy to find, plenty of parking. Mention our podcast when you get there for episode 100, and actually throughout the month of November as well, and actually now through the end of November. Mention our podcast. You can get one of these 4 specials or all of these 4 specials if you want. $6.99 for a small cheese, $9.99 for a large cheese pizza. Beer lovers, you can get a domestic beer pitcher for only $8.99.
And then you have Tim's personal
personal favorite. You get a steak and cheese sub with a 16-ounce draft beer for only $11.99. How cool is that? I mean, it's just fantastic special. Thanks to Steve at Clemento's for offering those specials and for sponsoring our podcast
and hosting us
next Friday, October 29th. So the plan is for episode 100, we're going to go live on Friday night, October 29th.
Probably shortly before 10.
Shortly before 10, maybe 9:30 or something like that. Depending on how it goes, the plan is for me maybe to piece some stuff together and post an audio show on our normal time Saturday at 5. Now, granted, we've had a lot of issues with the equipment lately, so we honestly have no idea how this is going to go. So There might not be something posted for Saturday. We don't know. We got to figure out how this whole thing works. But the plan is to, I don't think we'll post the whole thing because it'll be a few hours long. But and Linda won't like that.
And she's already going to have to watch kids.
Yes.
So we don't need her even more, man. We don't need her to be
we don't want angry Linda.
A pissed off Texan. Even though she's not from Texas, but still.
I was like, well, your mom's from Texas. What?
I was quoting the
from Lance. Oh, yeah, I know.
Like Tim said, it should be interesting because we've never done this. Clearly, we're rookies when it comes to this.
Yeah,
we're now 2 weeks into trying to get all the equipment we
need.
Hopefully we have highlights from it.
Yeah, hopefully. But we encourage you to come out, join us. I mean, the more the merrier. I mean, you guys are going to be a big part of the success of the show. So,
and if you're nearby within an hour and a half, and you don't come, you smell like cheese.
That's right.
You're a smelly boy.
Yeah,
or
head
girl.
Cheese or whatever it was. Those two black men.
Head cheese.
Yeah, head cheese. Yeah.
Head cheese. Yeah.
Head cheese. So
a man ate his dog.
A man ate his dog. So come on down. 160 Washington Street, Rochester, New Hampshire. Clemento's Pizza and Brew. Friday night, October 29th. Show up around 9:30 or so, and you get in all the actual big giveaways. Obviously, those specials that Steve's got going on. So
and it sounds like we'll be on one side of the Clemento's. If you ever walk in there, they have the counter is kind of in the middle, and they have one side and the other. It sounds like we're going to be on one side, kind of off to our own. So we should be able to have somewhat of an intimate setting. It might be a little bit loud, but it should be somewhat intimate to what we're doing. So it shouldn't be that much of a cluster. There should be plenty of seating. We want the more the merrier. We want to support Steve. We want to have you guys support us. So, come out if you decide, maybe you're going to go have a late lunch that day so you can have a late dinner, come out, enjoy the food, and come out and talk wrestling with us.
Yeah.
We do this because we enjoy it. So
if you're going to go have a lunch, get a small cheese for $6.99, then you can come back and get the steak and cheese and beer special for your dinner for only $11.99. So I mean, that's how
Tim's already decided what he's doing.
That's how I would plan my day if I were you. So thank you to Clemento's. We'll be there Friday night again. So join us for episode 100. Just wrapping up Bound for Glory. I'll probably give it a 6.5 if I had to give it a rating. I thought there was, the beginning, middle matches were okay. I thought it picked up towards the end, but the main event really kind of let me down with as much shenanigans as it was. I
am pleasantly surprised that Rhino won.
Yeah, it's a little surprising.
Let's talk about that for a minute too. I did. Jarrett had just gotten the title back.
Yeah.
I mean, the last show we watched, Jarrett didn't have the title.
No, he was still Raven.
Yeah. So he less than a month had the title. So it was kind of shocking that they switched the title that quickly. And when they had all that heat for the AMW Jarrett Gail Kim faction with Team Canada kind of sprinkled in there. Yeah. But yeah, let's give credit to Rhino for wrestling 3 times. I mean, I know the Gauntlet match probably wasn't too physical. On him, there were some spots, but the Monsters Ball match, those are always, a toll on everybody. And then he has, this match at the end. It wasn't much of a match, but still he took a little bit of a beating in the match from Jarrett. So kudos to Rhino for wrestling. And again, kudos to TNA for shocking us because I didn't think Rhino was going to win the Gauntlet. And I also didn't think he was going to win the title.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't spoil it, so I didn't know who was going to win. Yeah. So Rhino won. I was like, oh, no shit.
So what would your rating be if you had to give it a rating?
I'd say it was somewhere around you used my stick already, so I don't want to say Sean Waltman. But yeah, so somewhere around there, between 6 and 7, maybe a 6.5.
Okay.
I'm with you on that, only because, like you said, there was a little bit too much clusterfuckery in there at times. And the ending, other than who won, the ending was a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, no, I agree. So that wraps it up. Episode 99, Bound for Glory 05. Don't forget, at the very end of the show, you'll hear Mongo's thoughts on this show. Again, Mongo is enjoying himself on the Jericho
He's sailing
cruise.
Away, man.
He is.
He's on the Jericho. So hopefully by this point, he's already got Chris Jericho to promote.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I haven't seen anything yet. I know he doesn't have any service.
I don't think their service is very good. So, but yeah, hopefully he gets, some wrestlers to promote us, shout out the podcast. That would be really cool. If not, hopefully he at least has some cool footage to talk about and show us when he gets back.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can, tune in to episode 100 for his thoughts on the Jericho Cruise as well.
Yeah, I'm sure that will come up because I would imagine that we might be covering some stuff that people were on the cruise. Hopefully they're on. I'm not sure what the Rampage card looks like yet. I didn't watch last night, so I was a little bit busy. So I'm a day behind, so I don't know if they promoted next week yet or not.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it should be interesting.
With our luck, they'll be preempted by some hockey game or something.
Dude, that would suck.
We're not gonna think about that though.
No, from what I heard, they're going to be there at 10 p.m. Like they always. It seems like that's the one they don't mess up. Usually. Yeah. Friday is usually pretty good, but yeah. So it should be an interesting time. Like I said, we'll have some free time in there for Mongo to discuss some of the stuff that happened on the cruise, some cool stuff. Come tell, maybe we'll do some trivia or some contests where you can predict who's going to win the match or how it's going to go. Or, there'll be interesting things that will come up and there should be some cool prizes, possibly from Clemento's, but definitely from us. I'm not sure what Steve's willing to do. I don't want to put Steve necessarily out there.
Yeah.
But, maybe he's got something planned. We're not sure. We're going to let him. It's his place, so I don't want to speak for him. But we plan on having some cool prizes for you guys for coming out. And, it should be a fun time regardless.
Absolutely. So come join us, Clemento's Pizzeria and Brew, 160 Washington Street, Rochester, New Hampshire, Friday, October 29th. Get there around 9:30 or so. Shouldn't miss a thing. So I think that wraps it up for today. Episode 99. Hard to believe, 99 episodes in the can.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for supporting us. And
this is like a throwback episode.
And this is like kind of going back to our roots here.
We're in Tim's kitchen again, but it's almost where we started.
We have better equipment now, though.
It's just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
But yeah, we definitely miss Mongo being here with us.
Yeah,
he'll be with us for episode 100. Wouldn't want it any other way. So, like Tim said, thanks for listening. Come on out next Friday, join us, have some fun, eat some cool, some good food, talk to some cool guys about wrestling. Be a wrestling nerd for a night, even if you're not. Just come out, be one.
Absolutely. So episode 100 right around the corner. We will see you this coming Friday, I should say, at Clemento's Pizzeria and Brew. Until then, though, I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Fulis.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling's past and present.
Mongo, say something.
Mongo, you haven't talked the whole episode.
This episode's never going to end.
Mongo,
wake up.
Come on.
Hey, everyone. Mongo here. I'm sad I can't join the guys today to go over Bound for Glory 2005 with them, but I wanted to record at least a quick little input from me of what I personally thought of the show. Again, you're in good hands with the Podfathers, who are taking over this episode while I am in the middle of the ocean, probably going through Bermuda Triangle by the time you hear this, on the Jericho Cruise. And don't worry, unlike last year in 2020, where I think that random storm we had during the Bermuda Triangle, when we literally sailed through it, caused a rift in the timeline. Maybe this time we'll fix it. All terrible jokes aside, I'm going to get into this. I don't want to waste too much of your time. So the first match, actually the pre-show match, I want to thank Brian Harris, who is a faithful listener, who let us know we could watch this match on YouTube. It was Sanjay Dutt versus Alex Shelley, Austin Aries, and Roderick Strong. It was a four-way match. It was a really good match. I was actually surprised. It was a lot better than I thought, especially for a pre-show. However, TNA understood the importance of pay-per-view buys, so this was obviously their way of kind of heating the crowd up, getting them going. It was a great match. Had some clustery moments, but Sanjay Dutt winning with that beautiful Dragon Rana he does was absolutely incredible. Thanks again, Brian, for letting us know where we could find this match. It was cool to watch it because usually we can't watch the pre-show matches. Next up is Samoa Joe defeating Jushin Thunder Liger. If you don't know who Jushin Thunder Liger is, you've been living under a rock even back in 2005. He's a legend in New Japan, WCW. He's wrestled in WWF, WWE. He's even in NXT. He just got inducted into the Hall of Fame WWE. He's wrestled everywhere. He's a legend everywhere. He's got one of the most iconic gear, masks, whatever you want to call it, everything. Overall, it was a great match. They made Samoa Joe look like a monster. Even more so, they were building him up on this undefeated run. And what better way to make him look more dominant than to bring in a living legend to make his TNA debut and to get beaten 7 minutes clean by getting choked out by Samoa Joe. It was a great match. I'm glad that Jushin got to showcase himself and Samoa Joe got to look dominant without making it too much of a squash match. Next up is Diamonds in the Rough over Team Shark Boy, essentially, which is Apollo, Shark Boy, and Sonny Siaki. And the Diamonds are off for David Young, Elix Skipper, and Simon Diamond. This match was just all right. I mean, it's nothing to write home about. It's one of those matches where we've kind of seen them fight before on episodes of Impact back in the day. It just, they don't really have a lot of chemistry. Honestly, Shark Boy is probably one of the more interesting wrestlers in this based on his gimmick. There was a couple cool dive spots, but nothing really at home about. So I'd probably say that was my match, would be the dud of the night. Next up, we have Lance Hoyt versus Monty Brown. And Monty Brown will get the win here. I totally disagree with this. The match itself was good. Lance Hoyt doing that beautiful moonsault off the top rope. Just their chemistry in the ring. They've worked together enough to, they've started to develop it, but Monty Brown just isn't it. You know, he's a practice squad player in the NFL and he's a practice squad wrestler. The wrong person went over. If you just listen to the crowd, even the last couple episodes we've done, they're all over Lance Hoyt, who, AKA now Lance Archer. He was the better big man in the ring. He was the one they should have been pushing to be the dominant big man. I don't know if it's just because he didn't really have the gimmick then, or if he just didn't have the personality for them, but neither did Monty Brown. And the pounce didn't even look that good. It took Archer doing an awkward backflip to make it look good. So kind of another dud, but not for fault of Lance Hoyt, more because of bad booking and essentially just Monty Brown just not being it. Next up is a match we've never seen before. 3 Live Crew versus Team Canada. Said no one ever. So you know my thoughts on this because we've literally covered this every friggin' 2005 pay-per-view. It's all set. We're all set. Team Canada, 3 Live Crew. I'm done seeing it. It was boring. I've seen it so many times. It's hard to even get into the match. They do their regular stupid spots. You know, Conan doing all the little hip tosses. Just skip it. Another dud. So not really good because, you know, you have a kind of a halfway decent match. I would say a dud, halfway decent match, another dud. So kind of a shit sandwich, you know, like what they do in TNA, what we complain about with the way they stack the card here. But I'd hope it gets better. But it's the ultimate X match. P.D. Williams, Matt Bentley, and Chris Sabin. P.D. Williams is going to win when the damn X falls into his hands. Yeah, it falls into his hands, and he was just as confused as we all were. Even the crowd's chanting bullshit. It had a halfway decent some spots, but it's just the botches and the X falling, and the ref then at one point saying that you have to hang the X back up. It was awkward. It's kind of cringy. I think the ending and the X not being secured properly kind of ruined this match for me. But this was supposed to be their WrestleMania moment. You know, you have these guys killing themselves in this match with some pretty cool spots, you know, like the power bomb off the X or the flip off the X. Just the different spots they were doing, the brawls out to the floor. Like these guys were killing each other. And unfortunately, it didn't work because someone couldn't duct tape the damn X to the ropes or use a carabiner. Next, we're going to go into the NWA Tag Team Championship match where AMW defeats the Naturals. It was a decent match. I think it could have been a little bit better. It wasn't really too long, but it just kind of felt flat. It was good in the beginning, and that kind of just fizzled off a little bit. I think it's just because the Naturals are more of a slower technical style of wrestling, and AMW is more of they have to kind of feed off the energy of the crowd and brawl style. So I just think it's clash of styles here, and it just doesn't make sense in some of the spots they had with the whole Storm getting beat up in the Natural Disaster, and then Douglas chasing Gail Kim, gets himself handcuffed to the rail. Like it just kind of get a lot of hoopla at the end. So. Yeah, it's another dud. So unfortunately, this is kind of stacking up with some duds in a row. And the Ultimate X match would have been decent if not for that terrible spot. Anyway, now we're up to what I thought was going to be the Botch Fest, but actually it was a decent match. The Monsters Ball match. Monsters Ball is basically just a hardcore match with anywhere falls count. Excuse me, can't talk tonight. I'm a little late here. It was just a mindless, violence match, ECW match. It was really, really good in spots. I mean, it has the iconic Jeff Hardy doing the Swanton Bomb off the Impact tunnels. It has some crazy spots for the Abyss just getting absolutely destroyed because he was the one taking all the bumps and all the craziness, and there was Sabu. It was there for me. It's just a hardcore match. We've seen it a lot. This is like the second or third Monsters Ball. So it's almost like we're getting spoiled because I couldn't imagine being back in 2005 watching these pay-per-views and almost seeing the same thing over and over. We're doing it once a month and we see it. So it's just, I'm a little kind of burned out on the shtick of Abyss in the hardcore matches, but I would say the ending was cool with the Rhino driver off the top rope. That was pretty sick. that was a good spot. A little dangerous, but anyway, here or there. Next up is my match of the night and pretty much what saved this pay-per-view for me. Christopher Daniels versus AJ Styles in an Iron Man match. Holy crap, was this great. I mean, this shows you why AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe were money for TNA. These two had the rivalry, had the feud for the ages. ECW had RVD and Jerry Lynn. TNA had Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles and throw in Samoa Joe. So it was this is their feud. If you want to see TNA, watch this match. It was a one fall Iron Man match too, which was really surprising because usually in Iron Man matches, they go one of two ways. They do a couple here or there, or they do way too many. So I like the way this was booked. I like the way this was done. I liked how there was a sense of urgency. I overall would say probably this was a 4 out of 5. I think it could have been better because there was a little bit of, I can't think of the word here. Boring spots, I guess, but not meant to be. But it's just because obviously it's a 30-minute match, so they don't want to get blown up. So no disrespect to that, but still solid match, 4 to 5. I'll stop rambling so I don't talk myself into a corner. But match of the night probably should have been the main event because as we know, coming up is the 10-man battle royal, which essentially is just a Royal Rumble style rules where you throw someone over the top rope to eliminate them, and the winner gets to face Jeff Jarrett in the main event because Kevin Nash is in the hospital with heart issues. Whether it's a work or shoot, we don't know because Jeff Jarrett has said on My World and other interviews that he felt Kevin Nash was scared to face him. I don't know if that was just a work back then that he's just keeping going alive here or there, but yeah, Kevin Nash was in there, so they had to have this 10-man battle royal to have someone come out every 2 minutes, essentially, to get thrown over to have the last person standing fight Jeff Jarrett. Surprise, surprise, it's Rhino. Rhino having come this close to last pay-per-view covered with the Ravens rules match coming up short, and then Raven getting screwed over by Jeff Jarrett to get the title, and Larry Zbyszko because Larry Zbyszko didn't like him. So there was a lot of hokiness that led to this battle royal. It led to this main event, but it was an above average battle royal. I wouldn't say it's the best battle royal, but probably wasn't the worst. Just a little clustery for me. Kind of like everything else, especially when the Monty Brown, Jeff Hardy eliminations happened. He like eliminates himself. It was weird. So anyway, we're going on to the main event now. And I just want to say that this is kind of a travesty of a main event. It was so poorly booked. Not only was it too short, but just the Gaga and the interference. And, this is supposed to be Rhino's crowning moment where he wins the NWA title again in this WrestleMania style match. And this is the match you have, the cheap guitar shots to the gore. And Jarrett doesn't even friggin' sell the gore. Like after he gets pinned, he gets pretty much right back up. So it was 5 minutes. I don't think it should have been the main event. I think AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels should have closed the show. I know it was for the X Division Championship. I know you don't put minor championships on the top, but this pay-per-view just epitomizes what our critiques on TNA was. Just the order of the matches just aren't good. I would say I have 3 shining stars in this, which would be the pre-show, Sanjay Dutt, obviously AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels, and I'm going to probably surprise a lot of people and say the Monty Brown, Lance Hoyt, just because I think Lance Hoyt is the better wrestler, and I thought it came off good. The Ultimate X could have been better, but unfortunately, Hogan ruined it. So, hope you all enjoyed my unfortunate 11-minute ramble of my thoughts for Bound for Glory 2005. I can't wait to be back in person with the guys for episode 100, 10 days from the recording of this, so October 29th at Clemento's, as I'm sure Tim has told you all about the great deals Clemento's has to offer. So we can't wait to see you live and in person at Clemento's in Rochester, New Hampshire, as well as online Facebook and other social media platforms. Follow us at WAP Podcast at all of our socials, and I will be able to regale you in some of the tales from the high sea when I get back from the Jericho cruise, and let you know about all the different things that happen, including some of the wrestling that's going on. Chris Jericho is teaming up for the first time ever with Orange Cassidy, so curious to see if he comes out wearing all denim with Orange Cassidy. So we'll have some footage from that on our YouTube channel as well as talk about it. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great night. And thank you to the Podfathers, Roland and Tim, for including this audio so I can still feel like I'm part of the show. This is Mongo saying thanks for listening to Wrestling Past and Present. I hope you're all having a nice day.